Welcome back. Today we're looking at a piece on the AI music platform Suno, its power to create viral hits and jingles, and some of the bigger questions it raises. Let's get right into the feedback. So the piece does a great job of capturing the sheer speed of Suno. It's exciting, but you bring up the big one, the skeptical question almost immediately. You ask, does copyright not worry you?
Yes, and that's exactly where the audience's head is at. But the discussion's handling of intellectual property, specifically copyright, well, it needs a more comprehensive and proactive integration into the core argument to really feel robust.
Proactive integration. I like that. Because I recall when that question came up, the answer felt a little defensive, right? Something like, I created it in Suno. It's mine. That's it.
Exactly.
And that sounds confident, but why does that actually weaken the piece?
Because it introduces doubt right where you need to project total certainty. The weakness is that the response, it escalates. It jumps from that simple claim into these vague mentions of lawsuits against Suno.
Right, and the YouTube checks.
And the YouTube upload check. It just feels like a panicked clarification. It creates this fog of ambiguity instead of a solid, grounded analysis. And look, if you're presenting a tool that can change commercial work, which you are with the jingle example, you can't just sidestep the biggest legal risk. It makes the listener think you haven't fully thought it through.
So it's like you're treating copyright as this annoying little footnote you have to mention to fend off the critics.
That's a perfect way to put it. So my suggestion is this. Frame the copyright issue not as some sudden threat you have to defend against, but as the necessary context for this whole technological revolution.
Okay.
I mean, you compare the tech to a car, speeding things up, which is a great metaphor. But with a car, you have to talk about the rules of the road, the insurance, the license.
The speed limits.
The speed limits. You need a whole segment on that, shifting from that defensive crouch to being the proactive expert. That's what will bolster the argument.
I get that, but here's my concern. Won't that just bog the whole thing down? I mean, the energy is all about the speed, the viral hits. We don't want to turn this into some dry legal lecture.
No, absolutely not. You keep the energy by making the legal stuff directly relevant to the opportunity. So for some concrete examples, instead of just scattering these points, build a defined segment. Call it Navigating the New Legal Landscape, or maybe Taking Your AI Track Commercial.
So it's practical, not theoretical?
It has to be practical. Be definitive. You need to provide real clarity on the legal status of what's generated. You could, for instance, explicitly distinguish between personal, non-commercial use, which is pretty simple, and then the commercial use you're so excited about with the jingles.
Because if you're making a jingle for a client, that phrase, clean from any lawsuit, is suddenly not a small detail. It's everything.
It is everything. You need to explain what a user actually has to do to check out this song. What does that mean?
So by laying out the practical steps, having the paid commercial license from Suno, what the YouTube check actually looks for, you're not adding a liability. You're proving that the platform is viable for professionals.
Precisely. You discuss the known guardrails. You explain what they're there for. It shows you've done the due diligence, and it turns what was a moment of defensive weakness into a real point of authoritative strength. You're the one who knows how fast the car goes and how to drive it safely.
That is so much stronger. Okay, I think that's incredibly actionable. Shifting gears then, let's talk about the structure of the piece itself. Okay, so on to the next point. What I love here is the variety of examples. It's fantastic. You've got the viral song, 3 million listens with serial musicians, then the super specific commercial stuff with jingles and GPT, and then the personal demo, turning that radio clip into a rap song. These are brilliant.
They are. They're all fantastic, really high-impact examples. But to maximize the clarity and what the audience actually takes away, the materials should organize these into, let's call them defined, audience-driven categories of utility.
Wait, why is that needed? I mean, the examples are all there. They're powerful.
The weakness is that the flow is it's too rapid. It's disconnected. It feels like a highlight reel on fast forward, but without any narrator telling you what you're seeing. You jump from the 3 million listens stat right into making a jingle in a second and a half. Then there's a quick mention of schools, and then boom, we're doing a live demo making rap music. It's punchy for sure, but the listener doesn't have time to mentally sort it all out. It just feels like a barrage of potential.
So the listener leaves knowing Suno can do everything, but they don't know where to start or what it means for them.
That's it exactly. So the suggestion is really simple. Just group the examples logically. Group them by who they're for or what they're trying to achieve. It creates a narrative path, like a map, that guides the listener through what this tool can actually do. It makes it sticky. usable.
Okay, so let's make that concrete. What would that structure actually look like?
You could designate, say, 3 distinct sections. Think of them as user journey. First up, you've got the professional or commercial creator. This person cares about speed, ROI, efficiency. So this is where you put the jingle create, the second-and-a-half metric, the GPT integration, all the stuff that lets you rapidly prototype content for client. It proves this isn't a toy, it's a business tool.
Got it. A solid bucket for anyone on a deadline with a budget. Okay, so what's number 2?
Second would be the indie or hobbyist creator. This is the democratic angle, right? This is where that 3 million listens example is the absolute hero. Here you focus on accessibility, on reaching an audience without any of the old barriers.
So this is where you talk about dictating styles. Pop, rap, 90s, 80s.
Yes, you show how someone with zero musical training can realize a complete creative idea and get it out to the masses. The whole point of this section is that the barrier to entry for audience reach has just fundamentally collapsed.
I really like that split. The professional optimizes time, the indie creator optimizes reach, which leaves the third bucket, which I guess is for the more experimental stuff?
Correct. The third is the novelty or proof of concept. This is the perfect home for the personal demos, like uploading that audio clip and turning it into a song. It's the, wow, look what this can do section.
The fun part.
It's the fun part. It showcases the technical dexterity. And by putting it in its own bucket, you let the first 2 sections stay really focused on serious utility and impact.
Yeah, that categorization, it just immediately clarifies everything. You're not just listing features anymore. You're giving the listener mental buckets, and they can immediately say, oh, I'm the indie creator, or I need those professional tools. The whole argument just lands with so much more force. Okay, now let's get to the so what, the overall significance. And honestly, this is where the material gets really exciting. There's this powerful philosophical claim you make that AI causes us to create and reach wider audiences. And you compare it to the car, to running faster. That's a brilliant, brilliant claim.
I agree, the philosophy is potent. But while the material is great at establishing the ease of creation, it could really benefit from a deeper, more sustained focus on the revolutionary impact that results from that. The impact on audience and on what it even means to be a creator now.
I noticed that too. The weakness is you make this huge point about AI as an accelerator, this car metaphor, and then you immediately drop back down to talking about technical simplicity.
Exactly.
No studios, no orchestra, it only takes 10 seconds. It feels like you introduced this amazing car and then spent 5 minutes talking about how easy the key is to turn.
That's it. You're emphasizing the elimination of old barriers, which is true, but you don't fully explore the big question, what is the new barrier? If technical skill, engineering, mixing, if all that is gone, what is the human brain actually contributing anymore? That's the real so what. And it's a little underdeveloped.
That's a tough question. I mean, what is the new barrier? Does the value of music just go down? Or does the value of the idea, the concept, go up exponentially?
The latter. Absolutely the latter. So the suggestion is to really lean into that car metaphor. Lean into your best data, the 3 million listens song, and use it to articulate the fundamental shift. This story isn't just about removing old constraints anymore. It's about redefining mastery.
Okay. So a new definition of creator.
A totally new We need to move the focus away from physical production, studio time, can you play the guitar, and move it squarely onto conceptual and distribution mastery.
So if the new role is visionary, what does that person actually do? I mean, before, a creator spent 90% of their time on execution, playing, recording. If the AI does all that, where does that 90% of effort go now?
It goes into the concept, into refining the prompt, into mastering distribution. The material needs to dedicate real time to this idea. The shift from musician or engineer to, visionary or prompt master. The only human brain needed is now laser focused on the input text, the style choice, the core idea. And that 3 million listens example is your proof. That song didn't succeed because of some virtuosic guitar solo. It was the concept. It was an idea that went viral. The creator's entire effort was in the idea and the prompt. That proves that conceptual resonance and distribution are now the whole game.
So we stop hammering the point that a creator doesn't need a studio, and we start emphasizing that a creator must have a killer concept and a brilliant prompt. The focus moves from the tech making music to the human mind refining an idea.
Yes, 100%. You have to establish that the new bottleneck isn't execution, it's imagination. You can use strong language here. The AI is the fastest, most skilled worker imaginable, but it's completely dependent on its manager, the human input. If the input is bland, the output will be technically perfect, but totally irrelevant. The difficulty hasn't vanished. It's just migrated up to a higher intellectual plane.
That's such a great perspective shift. You're right, the material is so focused on the speed of creation, but your suggestion is about the speed of impact. It gives the whole thing the intellectual heft to match the text excitement. It really answers the "so what" with something thoughtful. All right, time to synthesize. We've hit on 3 crucial areas to strengthen. First, you have to proactively tackle the copyright issue. Move from defense to authority. Create a structured segment on navigating the new legal landscape so the listener knows exactly how to use this tool safely for profit.
Second, the structure and flow. Organize those amazing examples into clear, audience-driven categories. The professional, the indie hobbyist, and the novel. Give your listener a roadmap.
And third, you have to dig deeper on the significant. Really stick with that car metaphor to show how the creator's role is shifting from technical execution to pure conceptual vision. Use that 3 million listened song as Exhibit A that the era of the prompt master has arrived.
Look, the material is already high energy. It's exciting. It's got the proof points. These adjustments aren't about changing the core message at all. They're just about making it more robust, more logical, and frankly, undeniable. You've got all the pieces here for a truly game-changing discussion. Now it's just about assembling them in the most persuasive way.
We look forward to seeing the revisions. Send the improved work back to us for a follow-up critique.